Good evening, golf fans. Welcome back to Putting for Dough. We all look like we've got a little bit of sun going on here, Mark. You look a little bit red faced, a bit rosy there, Jack. You look like you've been outside stealing garden tiles, maybe. I don't know, something along those lines. But how are we doing, fellas?
I'm not tanned. I'm just drunk.
I am just very hot. I literally just got out of the shower. But yeah, I'm doing quite well. Thank you, the Nick.
Yeah, lovely intro, the Nick.
Yeah, cheers, fellas. I'm doing very well. Thank you very much for asking. So we do apologise first of all for the slight delay. Our very own Mark Ferguson, with his archaic technology, has set us back about 15 minutes. So we do apologise for that. His camera wasn't working, but we didn't want to do the show without you actually being able to see him, because you love that. So
there'll be people thinking it's better without me. My face.
Yeah. Well, I've had feedback, Mark, that mainly people just tune in just to see you every week. So we don't want to disappoint the followers, do
we? We know the ladies don't think that, Nick. We know that they like the Nick, don't we, Jack? The ladies like the Nick.
We do. It's that accent, that Wigan accent.
Yeah,
that
Wigan
is
accent.
It is.
They love
makes
it.
a weak
accent.
Weak at the knees.
Fellas, the Scottish Open, first of all, how did we all do last week?
I'm just going to stick to betting from now on. I'm going to stop playing DFS because I just keep nailing bets. So yeah, I had the outright on Xander Schauffele, which was very nice. I just missed out on Jordan Spieth each way as well, because he decided to bogey the 18th hole there last week. Thanks a lot, Jordan. But yeah, I will be just betting from now on, I think, because it just seems to be going better. My DFS week, I actually had a better week at the Barbasol last week, so that tells you everything. I think DFS wise, I probably lost about $20, and then overall, because my Barbasol was actually okay. I actually had quite a good week there. But betting wise, yeah, we keep rolling, and I'll be back again tomorrow on Twitter. I'll put out my bets, and if you want to, spoiler alert, I put one out already. Max Homer, I put that out during the Scottish Open because he was 70 to 1, and then he made a charge at the Scottish Open. I was getting worried that price would drop. It did drop to 60 to 1, and then I got the tee times today, and he's been cursed, so he's going out with Tiger Woods. I'm not as confident in that bet now. I'm gonna let it run because I'd kick myself if I didn't let it run now. But yeah, I'm not as confident in it. I don't like him going out with Tiger Woods.
For what it's worth, he put a great fanboy tweet out today about playing with the GOAT, which is good to see because it might be. I get what you're saying, Jack. I had similar kind of reservations at the Masters when Joaquin Niemann was partnered with him, but he actually had a really good opening day. So he may thrive on the attention and the crowds that he'll attract. So he seems well up for this, as well as playing his rounds at the Genesis Scottish Open. He was then playing links golf somewhere else in Scotland as well, doing another 18 holes in the evening. So seems like he's really tried to acclimate himself for this event this week and playing fantastic golf, obviously, as well.
He may well be up for it, but what really does worry me is Jordan Spieth and Rory McIlroy. I don't know if you saw that today. Actually, come out and said when they played with Tiger at the PGA, it affected them both, and that's Rory McIlroy and Jordan Spieth. So he may well be up for it, but there is somewhat of a curse when you go around with Tiger. I would actually like to dive into the stats of that one day to see how well golfers have fared when they've played with Tiger throughout the competition, but I wouldn't imagine it's very good.
Yeah, be interesting to see. Mark, how did your week go?
Yeah, I did okay. A small profit. I've been, experimenting with Fanshare Sports. It's going all right at the moment. Little 30% profit on that. The Max Homer thing, I'm just thinking we talked about this briefly. I'm hoping that becomes a narrative over the next day, that he's not going to do very well because that'll suppress his ownership. And I think he'll make a great DFS play. But we'll say that for a little bit later. So yeah, it was all right. I wish, to be honest with you, bit jealous of Jack because why would we keep picking lineups of 6 players, Nick, to try and win money, and Jack just picks 1, and he wins on a bet. It's like, what's the point?
Yeah. Well, I've a confession. Last week, I completely neglected how early the tea times were for the Scottish Open. So, just complete miss for me that week that last week. I did a little work on some other sites, some season long teams that we won't talk about. But other than that, I completely even forgot to put a bet on. What I did establish, however, is when I did go to put a bet on, I opened my Bet365 account and realised I'd landed JT Poston from the week before without realising. So nice little balance there in the Bet365 account as I opened that. So thank you very much.
They all say money goes to money, don't they? So,
Indeed. I think my money goes on bills, Mark. I don't know about money to money. Definitely bills and mortgages and
I've got some
children.
tiles you can buy if you need a new bathroom. Right.
Yeah. I've heard you've got some good tiles, Jack. Yeah. Some value there as well.
Good
before
mate, right? Mark, you're getting charged for work.
I know some local authorities that might want to know about these tiles and these mates rates, Jack. So you keep them to yourself.
I don't want this being played in a court of law, guys.
So last week we obviously had the first venture into the Pit Guru waters, and I don't know where you came from, Mark, but you just seemingly came from nowhere on the last day.
It was just bizarre, wasn't it?
Yeah,
it was just so bizarre. First day I was like last or second last or something, and you were running away with it, Nick. The first 3 sort of rounds.
Well, the first 3 rounds, I don't think I was ever taken off the top spot. And when I looked, I mean, you can click on other people on the leaderboard and see how their lineup compares to yours and who's missed the cut. Obviously, if you've got someone who's missed the cut, you know that rank cannot improve. So when I was looking, I was thinking, oh well, he's got 3 or 4 that have missed the cut. I think I only had 2. But then you just came from absolutely nowhere. Xander Schauffele on the final day goes and wins it, so that pretty much propelled you up. And a couple of my guys just fell off a little bit. Neiman being one of them, notably. But it was a good opening week. We didn't quite share the pot as I thought we might have done at one point. Matt, you actually took first place.
Yeah, they were a bit behind, weren't they? When we looked at it.
Yeah,
I think I had 2 4th places as well. I think that's what did me. Yeah, Fleetwood and Cantley. But yeah, I had 3 missed the cut, and it still came through. So I think people and we just should get on it. It must be soft pickings if I can win it with 3 and missing the cut.
I come last, just to put it out there.
Jack,
Scottish Sheffield missed the cut. Will Zalatoris missed the cut. Keegan Bradley missed the cut. Mito Pereira missed the cut.
Jack, you have won more money than us put together on DraftKings, though, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Well, yeah, this is true. I'm probably well up in betting this year as well. So yeah, I just told you I'm just going to stick to betting from now on. That's all I'm going to do.
Yeah, but it was good fun, and the one thing about it, Nick, which obviously I don't think you'll appreciate as much as me, was the fact that it's actually quite exciting to come from nowhere and suddenly see yourself at the top. Because when you said this to me, when you said that message, I was like, Nick's got the wrong end of the stick here, because I thought I'd lost, because I looked after the first round, I was like, what's the point? So this format obviously allows a lot of volatility in positions and stuff, especially like you say, if people got missed players and missed the cut, they can't improve. So obviously everything seems more exciting when you win, but
it's good because I think it shows, Mark, that given what happened with us on the Sunday, that you're in it till the last day, even with golfers that have missed the cut, normally, because that is based on fantasy scoring. The more that miss the cut, the less likely you are of cashing. Whereas with this, you might have a few guys miss the cut, but then if you've got a few that fly the leaderboard on the last day as well, you're still in with contention of cashing on it. So it is a different format. It is interesting. We'll have a look at some of the tiers for the Open Championship. They've been quite clever with how they've grouped a few of them. Obviously, we've got the contest. Head over to our Twitter at what is our Twitter handle?
PFD show.
PFD show. Yeah, just
how awful is that I didn't even know that? I would just cut that bit out. We'll cut that out. We'll cut that out.
Yeah, just head over there, and you can enter our league. £5 entry again. And, come and take us on. You'll do better than me anyway.
But some of the tiers this week. So the World Elite's quite a shallow tier. We've got Scheffler, Ram, Thomas, Fitzpatrick in there. The Open Champions is a very interesting tier. I think this is one of the most interesting ones because there's players in this that I feel will go well from a DFS perspective, but there's players that I'd bet more to win it. So interesting. Major contenders, again, that's a really stacked. I think the guys at the bottom, DJ wasn't too bad on the last live event, but the guys at the bottom I'm not too interested in, I don't think, this week, but certainly some of them names near the top.
Spoiler alert, I like DJ this week.
I don't hate DJ this week.
He nearly won the Open here in 2015.
Yeah. And he is
also, the bottom ones are the ones to go for from the... I know the numbers aren't going to be huge in this contest this week, but from a DFS point of view, as it were. Yeah. Because I imagine Xander's going to be the most popular in that tier.
Yeah.
Most definitely.
And then we've got the World Stars. Again, there's a few that I like in there. There's one that I'll definitely be avoiding this week. Spoiler alert, Victor Hovland. Thank you very much.
Jack, we'd never got into this. So
Jack took too much joy in that, didn't he, Nick?
Yeah, he did. That was the biggest humble brag laugh I've ever heard.
Yeah. I took a lot of joy in it because you gave me pelters for Mr. Blow Up himself, Mr. Petulant Child, Tyrrell Hatton, and he looked like he was going to win at one point. And then Victor Hovland. You don't need a short game, Nick. I can assure you, you do.
Well, to be fair, if you watch it, it wasn't really the short game that did his damage at point. It was just, that rough there was a lot worse than I gave it credit for. And one of his shots was like, I could have played that kind of golf from one rough to the other. And it was just like the look on his face was just priceless because he was just like, has that just happened? And like, once that starts creeping into the round, you can go south very fast, as you know, Jack, being a golfer.
Jack was victory lapping that after about 2 holes or something as well. I think.
Yeah, it was. Because I knew
he was
going to miss the cut.
Yeah. The least said, the better. So we'll leave that one there. GB and Ireland is our next tier. Again, I think there's some interesting names amongst this lot. Tommy Fleetwood had a really good Scottish Open, so he's put himself well in the mix. Tyrrell Hatton, despite the pelters I might have given you the other week, Jack, and every time you mention him on this show, I actually quite like Tyrrell this week.
Just play Tyrrell. He's an auto lock in that category for you.
Seamus Power is another one, though. I know he's high on my model this week. I don't know about you guys, but I think it is an interesting tier, that one.
Do you think Paul Casey is actually going to make it to the first tee?
I'm not even taking that chance.
No, just something to bear in mind.
US challengers. Obviously, we've all said we really like Max Homer. Sam Burns rates out quite highly in my model this week as well. Webb Simpson's not. People aren't really talking about Webb Simpson, I feel, this week, but he's massive in the betting. Like,
he's going off. He's the first tee time off tomorrow on Thursday.
Yeah, I noticed that just before coming on. I was looking at some of the tee times. I know Phil Mickelson's off early as well. They've shafted some of the live boys with the tee times early on, but
I just kind of hope one of the live guys wins it now, just to stick it. I think it'd be so funny.
Tiger Woods obviously in this tier as well. I'm sure we'll come to Tiger Woods a little bit further on in the DK segment, but the lively outsiders, you've got a couple of the like the DP World Tour on here with Moronk and Fox. Some other names as well that have done really well on the tour this year. Mito Pereira's obviously had some successes. Padraig Harrington's been really good on the seniors. Tom Thomas Peter's been lighting it up on the DP World Tour. Keith Mitchell's had his moments as well. That's another pretty good tier. I think there'll be a lot of variance in that tier. And then we've got the Live Forever tier. I like what they've done with the Live Forever title there. Big fan of that. But this week we've got the Live players grouped into one, which who stays and normally goes fairly well round links courses, round open courses. So that's an interesting one. But I know that you're betting him to miss the cut this week, Jack. I think I saw you say earlier in the chat.
Yeah, everyone's going to be on him, so I'm going to just do the old trick and go against him. I know he's got very good course history around St Andrews. I just don't think he's playing. People will look at his live form. I think he's had 2 top 10s on the live tour. I'm not entirely sure what that means. Like, you're playing against 48 other guys. I'm not entirely sure how good that is, finishing in the top 10 twice. I actually really like Taylor Gooch in that category. He ranks very highly, spoiler alert, within my model this week, and you can get 200 to 1 on him for betting at the minute. I'm gonna put a $5 on him each way.
Yeah, I like Gooch as well. You get in. I was watching shout out Rick Run Goods. It is DFS show for the Open, and he mentioned Gooch as someone that we're getting a bit of like live discount on him at the moment, because if he was playing on the PGA Tour, he probably wouldn't be the kind of price that he is in some of the betting this year. He's been, in and around sort of top 20 players. So yeah, it's you can definitely get good odds, and some of the stats that back him as well. He really does fit the course. So yeah, I like Gooch in that category as well. I don't think I'll go with any of the other guys. I think Taylor Gooch, I'm going to be all in on him in the Live Forever category. But I'm looking forward to that again this week, fellas. It's some good categories. There's some good thought process required as well, I think, in there. There's some that seem obvious, and some of them tiers that are really compact, that have got some of the guys that you'd like to own together in DFS format, but you just can't in this format. So it's got to be process of elimination. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
I think you still got to pick these. Try and think about who's going to be the most popular player in each tier as well.
Yeah,
you don't always have to go against everyone on all 8 of the tiers. Obviously, that would be possibly too much leverage. But just pick your spots where you're picking maybe the uncomfortable pick, but maybe you're the only person who picks it.
Yeah.
Especially in our competition, where with the numbers there are and stuff. I think that makes a big deal. So yeah,
I think as well in that, it's like we always talk about ceiling and floor in DFS, and I think in that as well, if you're picking someone, honestly ask yourself, do you feel that they've got a chance of contention? They could be a really good golfer, but if someone gave you money and said, would you back them to win? If you say no, maybe have a little think about who you would back, and that's the kind of person that you need to be targeting, because it's not fantasy point scoring. It ultimately comes down to worthy finish on the Sunday. So yeah, looking forward to that again this week. We'll move on to the main event then, the Open, the final major of the season. And can I just point out, though I've got a lot of respect for some of our correspondents from over in America, it is not the British Open. It's just the Open. It's not the British Open. We don't need the we don't need the separation. We've got the US Open. We've got the Open, and that's what it is. That's what it'll always be. It isn't the British Open.
It's the Brazil nuts thing again, isn't it? In Brazil, they don't call it that.
That's it. Jack, you've got a fantastic course preview lined up for us, so fire away, my friend.
I do. I was just going to say, if anyone's got any questions tonight, just head on over to our YouTube page. You can find that on Twitter at Putting for Dough Show, and the link is there. Just head over to YouTube and send in comments via YouTube. We will not get any comments that come through on Twitter. They just don't work for some reason. Don't understand why, but yes, Nick, we are off to St Andrews for the 4th and final major of the year, the only major that is played outside of the United States of America, the Open Championship, and it is being played this year at the home of golf, St Andrews. Important to mention that the Open Championship goes on a rotation every every year, basically. St Andrews is normally I think it's 5 years. I think they go 5 different courses, if I'm correct from memory, within the Open Championship. But so the St Andrews was meant to be in 2020, but obviously we had COVID. The Open Championship that year got cancelled, so they rescheduled a couple of things. So St Andrews would be played on the 150th edition of the Open Championship this year. St Andrews is in Scotland, in Fife. Those of you that have been to Scotland will know that Scotland's got its own weather climate. It can be beautiful and sunny one minute, and then it can be windy and snowy and rainy the next. It's a weird place for the weather, and breaking it down, that is St Andrews' true defence is the wind. It is, excuse the pun, it is a very, very open golf course. There's no trees here. This is on the coast. This is open as you get. It's a par 72, 7,313 yards long. You've got water hazards here, but only come into play on 2 of the holes. The most famous of the holes where the water will come into play is hole number 1. You get this little stream that runs basically in front of the green on hole number 1. It basically stops the golfers this week using driver off the tee on hole number 1. You can't really drive this green, otherwise your ball's going to end up in that stream. So you'll see a lot of long irons off of number 1 this week. The fairways around this place are fescue and bent grass. It's a weird mix. Again, the golfers don't play on this sort of grass very often, and the rough again is bent grass, and just there's a load of other stuff within that as well. The greens are fescue with brown top bent grass, a bit of power on them. That again, just very weird. Originally designed by Tom Morris in 1895, a long, long time ago, this place. Again, yeah, just one true defense is the wind. There's a lot of bunkers. The most famous of the bunkers is the one on number 14, and it's called the Hell Bunker. So it's called that for a reason. It's a nightmare to get out of, and you can go on YouTube and watch clips of Jack Nicklaus trying to get out of it. It took Jack Nicklaus 4 tries to get out of this bunker. It's horrid. If you go in that, you're going to be in a lot of trouble. Again, the bunkers are the one true test. If you find them this week, you're going to be in trouble. You can be inaccurate a little bit off the tees because the fairways here are fairly wide, the greens are massive, but if you find them bunkers, it's one of them, like we said last week, you've just got to take your medicine. You've got to come out sideways and take your medicine with it and drop the shot. At present, I'm pretty sure everyone's seen the video of Sam Burns smashing his golf ball down on the fairway and it bouncing back up to him. That's how firm it is this week. It's the golf course is brown. It's not green. So it's really dry at the minute. There's going to be, some of these holes are going to get found out this week. I'm actually fearful that the R&A might not come back to St Andrews after this year if the wind doesn't get up, and that would be a great shame because there's nothing more they can do with this golf course to make it harder. They can't push the tees back any further. They've already done that. They've run out of space. Like the famous 17th hole, you have to tee off over the hotel. You have to go over a hotel. It's a blind shot. It's the hardest hole on the golf course, actually, 17. And you've got, it's called the road hole. You've got the big stone fence that runs up beside it. It's out of bounds to the right, and then you've got pot bunkers on the left. There's trouble everywhere, and like I say, you have to tee off over the hotel. So there's nowhere safe to go on that hole really. But yeah, I am fearful that this might be one of the last times we see St Andrews being played by all these professionals in real competition like this, because unless the wind gets up, I can see someone going very, very low this week.
Yeah, I think it's as fantastic as this course is. I think this is going to be a high scorer this week. And I'm with you, Jack. The weather, we're actually in a spell where we're in this heat wave, and it's dried the course out. We're not really getting some of the winds that we've had this year. I feel like this has been probably one of the windiest years I can remember on record. But when it's actually come to Open Championship time, there's barely any wind. I mean, there is a slight wind gust. I think we were talking about it before the show, Jack, that the wind, I think, picks up on Thursday afternoon / evening. But even still, it's not the kind of wind. No, it's not the kind of wind where you would expect it'll make much of a difference to these kind of guys. We're not talking 30-mile-an-hour gusts, which it's capable of. We're talking the kind of winds where if we were playing golf courses, it probably wouldn't alter what we're doing that much in reality. So it certainly won't for the pros. Mark, your course key stats, please.
Well, I've been a little bit less specific than usual. There's the old saying about links golf, which is just get the ball in the hole. And to be honest with you, as it stands right now, I'm not really sure exactly and I'll put this. So normally when we're looking at our PGA stats, we know, they play a standard drive, they play a approach shot from 200 yards, whatever it may be, and stuff, etc. But the way everything's setting up with the ground so hard and everything, and these really huge greens and all that, there's not really a pattern necessary to how they're going to play every hole. So my main focus is actually I'm looking at this at the sort of general, tee to green, the around the green, and the putting, as it were, as a whole, rather than doing all the splitting up into all the different component parts. But what I'm doing is I'm looking at it all in all sort of in a sort of form way, as it were. So the last 8 rounds are slightly more weighted heavy than the last 16 than the 24th. So this is something new I'm trying, because this week I'm not really entirely sure exactly how to model it. Let's put it that way.
Right.
I hope that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's like, it does make sense because we don't really know exactly how they're going to play, because they're talking about driving the greens, the par fours quite regularly at the moment with the way
you can't drive a lot of these par fours. Like I said, one, you physically can't drive it. I mean, Bryson might be able to carry that river, that stream, but no one else will carry it. 18 is a birdie hole. I saw Tiger yesterday in the practice round drive the green. That's Tiger Woods, obviously, with one leg. There's 2 par 3s on this golf course. There's 2 par 5s. And the rest are par 4s. It's a weird design, really, for a golf course. There's a lot of mystique about it. I know we're saying the fairways are wide, and the first and the 18th share the same fairway, but the first whole side of the fairway is flat. I saw some stuff earlier on this, and then the 18th side is a bit like Augusta, where you get their mounds and their undulations, and whether you get the runoff. So, again, that whole with links, it's all about bounces. Like this is why Jordan Smith always does well at open golf courses, because he just gets these lucky bounces everywhere, and that's what links golf is. You kind of need these lucky bounces. Much like Augusta, I think St Andrews, you need to have a bit of course history around it. I think you've had to have played it before. You kind of know there's spots that you can leave it in to be safe, and then there's spots that you really do not want to be leaving it in. The bunkers are its true hazard with the wind, but we're not going to get the wind.
Yeah, and I think what's interesting, like you said, Jack, is you can't. A lot of the par 4s, there's some of the par 4s where some of the bigger hitters will fancy the chances for a bit of a runoff close to the green. And I think you'll find this week that there'll be a lot of putts off the green as well. People getting out the old Texas wedge off the green. I think it might provoke certain players to play more to the strengths and play the course a little bit differently, because you see it every week that it's so easy for a lot of the players, because of how far they do hit it, to just whip the driver out the bag and just try and hit it as far as they can. What comes to mind a few weeks ago when Thigala was coming down the 18th, takes out driver, doesn't need to, and put himself in trouble, and ultimately goes and costs himself the tournament. I think you'll get people who will fall back on their iron play, because if green in 1 isn't necessarily attainable, then you're looking at a long iron and an approach iron from a distance where you're comfortable. So you'll get some of the players that are your shorter proximity approach shots, but then you'll get some where it might be sort of like 125, 150, 175 proximity approach. So I think it's interesting because you'll see players play this course differently this week, rather than everyone just getting out driver and trying to keep up with the longest drivers on the tour. It's not going to happen. I think some players like Bryson, you mentioned there, Jack, I don't necessarily fancy Bryson this week per se, but if he was like prime Bryson form, it could have set up quite nicely for him this week. But yeah, it's an interesting one. It's going to be a high scorer. I do hope that it does come back here again, because I think just the atmosphere of it and the fact that it has had such memorable Open Championships in the past, and as you said, it is the home of golf. It is on the rotation. There's better courses in the country, far better courses, and far harder Open courses as well. But it's fantastic, and it's like one of the heartbeats of golf. So you sort of don't want to let it go, even though the game is advancing and the players are getting better.
You made a good point there about different ways to approach it, and I think that's evident through the last 5 winners at St Andrews, not the Open, but just the last 5 winners at the Open Championship at St Andrews. Sorry. So you've had Zach Johnson, who's not a bomber, but Zach Johnson also won the Masters, and he didn't bomb that. And when Zach Johnson won the Masters, he was doing exactly what you were saying then. On the par 5s, he was laying up every. He wasn't going for the green in 2. He was laying up and then just leaving himself a little chip shot in, and giving himself like a 3-foot putt for birdie on all the par 5s at Augusta. He kind of done a similar thing at St Andrews, just a lot of very good iron play. And then previously to that, the winner was Louis Oosthuizen in 2010. Louis Oosthuizen's he's a bigger bomber than Zach Johnson, but he's not a massive hitter. But again, a very, very solid, good iron player. And then the 2 previous times before that, it was Tiger Woods, and Tiger Woods was. We're talking back in the 2000s now. Tiger Woods was massive then. He was the longest hitter of the golf ball ever, like then. So, and then prior to Tiger, it was John Daly, and John Daly absolutely bombs the ball like he did back then. So in '95, so you see a mix of different winners there, and I just think that's very interesting to see. I've got some trends. I don't know if you want me to run through them quickly.
Go ahead.
I did have some trends. Sorry, I'm just trying to.
Whilst we get those up, Jack, I just want to quickly say I hope they do come back, because that sort of view of when you're sort of behind the golfers coming up the 18th is like classic view from years and years back, and it's instantly recognisable.
And the bridge on the 18th as well. It's like. It's just like those moments, and when you see it on the TV, it's like for me, like I love the Masters. I know you love the Masters, Jack. It's your favourite, but like when you see the Open at St Andrews, it's like for me, it's like almost unrivaled. It's so nostalgic. Do I hope they come back? There's plenty of years where the Open is at courses that are much tougher than this. And it will still be a tough course for players, but it will be a course that will yield some big scores this week.
I didn't like the Open that Shane Lowry won, which was in Ireland. I can't remember the golf course, but I didn't like the golf course. I just didn't. There's nothing about it. I am with you. I would love them to come back here again. They might well do, but I am very fearful for St Andrews' future. As I say, that there's nothing more they can do to it. So. So Open trends. So 9 of the last 10 winners had at least one prior top 10 in an Open before. Across the past 10 winners, each had appeared in 10 Open Championships on average prior to winning. Morikawa on debut and Spieth, who was his fourth appearance, were the outliers in that one. 9 of the last 10 Open Championship winners have ranked top 40 in the Golf World Rankings. 8 of the past 10 Open winners have posted a top 20 in one of their previous 2 majors, and every single one of the past 10 winners have posted a win or a runner-up at a major at some point in their career. 8 of the last 10 Open Championship winners had posted a top 10 in at least one of their previous 3 starts. 15 of the last 21 Open champions had won a tournament already that season, and 8 of the last 10 Open winners played the week before. So just a few little trends there. I thought just give them out to people, and yeah, all in our Substack. So yeah, just head over there and free to sign up. You can grab hold of that information if you need it.
Be interesting to pool all those players together and then see who you're left with or who ticks the most boxes across those trends. That might be something for betting purposes. But I think it is time for us to build some lineups and talk about some of these players that we're going to be playing this week, fellas. So
the model's not as big this week, Mark. You're all right.
It's hard, isn't it? Because we just talked about how we don't really know exactly how everybody's going to play it. So
yeah,
it is tricky to model this week.
Yeah, I know that your model, Jack. You normally in weeks gone by, your model has been absolutely off the scale. The kind of things that you've been looking at, yeah. But I know, and I think we're looking at similar kind of things this week. I think we're all still on the approach. We're taking into account play around the greens, driving distances factoring, 3-putt avoidance, long putts as well, which normally doesn't sneak into our models, but this week I think inevitably it has to. So I think we've all got fairly similar stuff across the board. Par 4 scoring's another big one because of the fact that there is so many par 4s on this course. But yeah, let's have a look at some of the tiers. So we'll kick off with the 10k above, the elite tier, if you will. So we've got Rory McIlroy is the most expensively priced golfer this week at 11.1 thousand. Scheffler follows him at 11, and then we've got John Ram at 10.8. We've got Justin Thomas at 10.5, Morikawa at 10.3. and Jordan Spieth at 10, who loves links and open golf. So I'll start with you, Jack. Your favourite play out of this 10k and above tier?
It's Justin Thomas. He ranks number 1 within my model. He's green across the board. Obviously, he's had the win at the PGA Championship earlier on in the year. I actually think the proximity range from 75 to 100 yards is going to be quite important this week. You're going to get a lot of these sort of weird wedge shots off these dodgy lies here. And Justin Thomas actually in that proximity range from 75 yards to 100 yards over 50 rounds ranks number 1 within this field. He's literally just green across the board. Strokes gain approach 7th. Strokes gain putting on moderate greens, like speed for the green, he's 9th. Scrambling 27th. Driving distance 12th. Strokes gain total in moderate wind, he's 4th. Sand saves, he's 8th. 3-putt avoidance, he's 7th. I mean, there's nothing not to like about Justin Thomas. If you're looking at it from a stat point of view, the only thing I do have a little bit of a worry about is his open form has not been particularly great in recent history.
I'm big on JT as well. He's number 1 in my model. Mark?
I'm going back to Jordan Spieth, I think. We already kind of alluded to it a little bit about the luck of the bounces that he gets. I mean, he gets so many lucky bounces, it can't be that luck. All of it can't be luck. You talk about different types of shots. We were talking about different types of shots you can need, different styles of play, slightly unusual. All sounds like that's in Spieth's wheelhouse, doesn't it? He was He was fourth here in 2015 as well, so he quite likes the court.
Should have won.
Yeah. So and he was his ball striking was +6 strokes gained last week until he faded towards the end. And he didn't even play that well last week. So yeah, I think for me it's Jordan Spieth. But as we say every week, especially in this, which really strong field, they're kind of all good plays, aren't they? Really, I mean, Scotty Scheffler missed the cut last week. Hopefully, if that brings down his ownership, you couldn't go wrong really with him either, could you? Let's be honest.
Yeah,
I think John Rahm might be the lower owned one at the top.
Mm.
Yeah, I think Ram. Ram
or
and then
Morikawa, but
Ram or Morikawa. Yeah,
if the conditions, obviously Morikawa is the reigning champion. If the conditions stay the same as what they're projected to be at the minute, he won in similar conditions last year. So Morikawa might be a good option to go to at low ownership.
Yeah. I like Spieth this week, Mark, as well. And I know he was he fourth here the last time out, but his actual open history is just like fantastic. Like his last 5 years have been fourth, 30th, first, 9th, 20th. He's
never missed a cut.
Never missed the cut. He's always in and amongst it. He loves links golf, it seems. One of the things as well with Jordan Spieth is we were criticising his putting not too long ago, I felt like, and it seems like it's something that he seems to have worked something out. Yes, he does get a little bit of luck of the draw sometimes, but since the Byron Nelson, he's gained strokes putting on. From what I've got data-wise, it's 4 of his last 6 events, but he came 37th at the US Open, 10th at the Scottish Open. I imagine at least one of those he will have gained strokes putting on as well to finish 10th especially. He missed the cut at the Travellers, but that wasn't because of his putting. He still gained 2.1 strokes at the Travellers putting. It was just the rest of his game completely let him down, but Jordan Spieth probably one of the most creative players on the tour when it comes to shots, and I think you're going to have, even though I don't think there's massive amounts of trouble areas this week, and the fairways are obviously wide. If you miss the fairways, it's not necessarily a massive punishment unless you end up in the bunkers. I still think you're going to need to have a lot of shots in your arsenal this week to get round this course and score well. So I really like Spieth there this week as well, which I didn't picture myself saying, but there we are. Yeah,
I don't mind him either, to be honest. I prefer Justin Thomas at the top.
Yeah. To be fair, JT's number 1 in my model as well, so absolutely he's going to be in plenty of lineups for me this week. Jordan Spieth actually ranks out much lower, but I think it is because of the putting over a longer period of time rounds wise. The 9K range then, fellas. So Xander Schauffele wins yet again and comes in at 9.9K. No doubt will be highly owned this week. A lot of bias there from the last 2 events. Matthew Fitzpatrick at 9.7, Will Zalatoris 9.6, Cameron Smith at 9.5. We've got Cantlay at 9.4, Shane Lowry at 9.3, DJ at 9.2, Hideki Matsuyama at 9.1, and I don't even really want to say his name, but Victor Hovland at 9, which we'll just ignore, shall we? So anything other than Hideki Matsuyama upwards, let's start talking about these golfers. Mark, you can kick us off first on this tier.
Victor Hovland has gone up in price, has he?
I think he has.
He has. Which is funny. I just want to quickly talk about the Xander thing. He's actually first in my model. He was chalky last week, but he was kind of an obvious chalk, and it was an example of good chalk because he won. I don't think you have to necessarily. This came up in the Putting for Dough Discord, I think yesterday. You don't have to fade him just because he's chalky. You can, if you think he's going to do well and he fits in your lineups, and this price is pretty good because it was made before the Scottish Open. Then you can play him and just get different somewhere else. That's all I wanted to really say about him. Willie Z's the one who interests me here, though. Kind of, he's good stats wise, but it's just his record with the majors and stuff. I know Jack's going to tell us he can't win.
He's undercursed.
Yeah, I mean, he's handicapped.
Yeah, you listened to the Pat Mayo show today?
No, I don't believe in curses.
Tim undercussed his Will Zalatoris, so he's now undercursed. Do not bet.
You'll be getting a witch doctor to pick your lineups next. Or using your horoscope and but he's had 3 second places, hasn't he, in majors and stuff. So he just seems he's like Brooks Koepka, just without the winning. And I suspect he might be slightly lower owned. I'm not really sure. I think he will be, but because his form isn't great and stuff. So he's been hit and miss, but more to the point.
One thing that does, and it is pathetic, but DraftKings. I mean, Will Zalatoris has literally come runner-up at majors now. Get a picture on DraftKings, for God's sake. Like, let's get rid of this American flag and let's get a picture of the guy on the. I mean, what are we doing? It's amateur hour. Jack, your picks in the 9K range.
And there goes any sponsorship deal that we wanted.
Yeah. My favorite. Jack, the Nick will use some of his other contacts in the underworld to our sponsorship.
Ask him if they're on the binding towels while they're at. I too like Xander again. I don't care that he won last week, and he might be chalk yet again. I just do not care. He ranks number 2 within my model. He's green across the board. But my favourite option is the Weasel. And
here we go.
I really wish he'd cut that hair. I'll tell you now. But Cameron Smith, I really like what he done last week. He looked on the verge like he was going to miss the cut on Friday, and then he just made this charge, come back, and then he finished tied 10th overall. He ranks number 3 within my model. We know Cameron Smith can get it done in the wind. He won the Players' Championship this year in the wind. Probably should have won the Masters. Has good Masters form. I have that within my model as well this week. Augusta is a comp course for St Andrews in some aspects. People that generally play well at Augusta play well here at St Andrews. Cameron Smith has played very well over his career at Augusta National. Again, number 3 within my model, green cross ball, 8th in that proximity range from 75 yards to 100 yards. And then I've also got proximity from 100 to 125, and he's 5th within that. 3-putt avoidance, he's 4th. We know how much of a clutch putter Cameron Smith is. Very good at putting. The only dodgy thing with Cameron Smith is he's driving. He's a bit wayward. I don't really think that's going to matter here. The only hole that it might is the 17th, but I don't think he's going to find himself in a lot of trouble with his wayward tee shots around here. I really like him, and I think he'll be a bit lower owned than some of the other guys around him there. He won't be the lowest owned within this range, but he'll be lower owned than some of the guys around him, I would have thought.
Yeah, I have a feeling DJ might be low owned in this range this week because of the live thing, but and obviously his form's been a little bit up and down this year. Granted, he looked a little bit better last time out, but I like Cam Smith as well. Jack, he's 3-putt avoidance is fantastic. He's a really good fantasy scoring golfer because, like, you'll just look at his birdies or betters, for example. He's right up there on that rank as well. Fantastic approach player. We saw it at Augusta. He was playing fantastic golf until he decided to take on the hole he shouldn't have tried to take on, and it just went downhill for him then. But we've seen it on tour this year. When it comes to iron play and wedges, he's fantastic. And I think with Cameron Smith, you hit the nail on the head. He can be a little bit erratic off the tee. I just don't see that as an issue this week across the board. If the holes are that wide that even if you're a little bit wayward, you're just probably going to be on a hole at the side of that one. So it's just not that kind of golf course where it would really pose an issue. So I like Cameron Smith as well this week.
I think he's going to be higher owned than you think, though, because I've seen a lot of talk about him. being a good play.
I just mean guys around him, Mark. I think people will go more casuals. Will play Xander Schauffele, Fitzpatrick, and Zalatoris over him personally. And I'm just talking about guys within his range. Obviously, below him, Cantlay, Lowry. I don't mind Lowry this week. I'm not playing Cantlay. The guy just doesn't show up for majors. I know he's getting a lot of talk as well. Did he come fourth last week at the? Yeah, I can't play Cantlay in majors. He just burns me every time. I'm kind of with you, Nick, on DJ. I think he will go low owned, and I think he's a sneaky play. He should have won this in 20. Yeah, it was 2015. He should have won it. He was the leader after 36 holes, and then, if from memory, they had a 2-day delay due to really bad weather in 2015, and it just obviously affected him. He's been playing better on Live. He played better at the last on the Live tour. At lower ownership, I don't mind him, and the same could be said for Hideki. Hideki come fourth at the US Open. That just seems to come out of nowhere. I know he missed the cut last week.
Gone under the radar, that
yeah. I know he missed the cut last week. I don't know how much I take. I don't know what I take from that Scottish Open. I don't think that's a links golf course, what they played last week, personally.
Yeah, I don't. It didn't seem like a traditional links course.
No.
I mean, we'll move on.
Anyway, Nick. So
we'll move on to the. We'll move past Victor Hovland and not mention his name, possibly ever again on this show. So we'll move into the 8K range. So we've got Sam Burns at the top at 8.9, Louis Oosthuizen at 8.8, who has escaped the early tee off of the Live Golfer group. I don't know if it'd be interesting. I looked at some of the names. I don't know if Louis Oosthuizen has outright come out and said he's resigned from the PGA Tour, but I know some of the other players have. And I don't know if it's those ones that are teeing off really early. It'd be interesting to look at that. Tyrrell Hatton, 8.7. I like him this week, but we'll come to him, I'm sure. Tommy Fleetwood, 8.6. Brooks Koepka at 8.5. Tony Finau at 8.4. Sung Jae Im, 8.3. Corey Connors, 8.2. Bryson DeChambeau at 8.1. And Joaquin Niemann, everyone's favourite Chilean, down there at 8,000. So, is Chilean? I'm almost certain he's Chilean. We'll go with that. Yeah. Mark, the 8,000 range, who's at the top of your list?
So I really like Tommy Fleetwood here. It's tricky. I actually like. There's three of them I like, and I'm sure you guys can talk about maybe definitely one of them. But I like Usti and Harrison here. Thing about the Live golfers is I just wonder about motivation with them. That's kind of always going to be the question, isn't it?
Do you not think the early tee time might annoy some of them? And
it might be. There'll be an element of it of like, we want to show them and stuff. But equally, when things are going bad, you can console yourself with the fact that you're still earning whatever it is and stuff, no matter what you do. Yeah. So that's just an overall thing about these majors, and I suppose it will take a couple of years, if assume that they still get to play in them, to really understand if it affects their motivation or not. Tommy Fleetwood, I like. He's got a great record here at St Andrews. 21 of 22 rounds, he's been under par here. He was fourth last week. His strokes gained total over the last 12, 8 and 4 rounds is trending upwards. And I just think I've got a sort of, because we're playing in Scotland, I've got a little bit of a bias towards British players, I think, generally this week.
Yeah, I like Fleetwood. I think he'll definitely have driven his ownership up a little bit with the Scottish Open finish. Jack.
Yes. Yeah, you know where I'm going.
I mean, I had a feeling, but I wanted the confirmation.
The petulant child, Mr. Tyrrell Hatton.
He is. Look at that little smirk on his face there.
Played well last week at the Scottish Open. Sort of fell away over the weekend a little bit, but I'm not worried about that. He comes to a golf course that he absolutely loves. I said this last week. He has won 2 Dunhill Links Golf Championships on this golf course. I know that the Dunhill Championship is played over 3 golf courses, but they play St Andrews twice on the rotation on that. So he's won on this golf course twice. He's had 2 runner-ups here and a further top 10, and that's all within the last 5 years. I know that's played in October in different conditions as well. I do understand that, but it's clearly a golf course that Tyrrell Hatton likes. As mentioned last week, I don't know what it is with him. He blows up, but he seems to like harder golf courses. I don't know what it is with him, but anyway, the course history that he has here, I love. He's also number 1 within this field over the last 50 rounds in 3-putt avoidance. Somehow, for a guy that gets in his own head like that, he is number 1 in 3-putt avoidance over 50 rounds within the field. I don't get it, but he's my favourite play within the 8K range. I'm not actually in love with this 8K range a lot. I like Tyrrell. I don't mind Fleetwood. I don't know if I can get to him. But other than that, going down, I don't really like any of these guys.
Yeah, I think Tony Finau comes out fairly high in my model. I think 12th, I think he is. But other than Hatton, Fleetwood, and Finau, I'm a little bit the same in this tier. I don't mind Neiman actually as well there. He had a fairly decent Scottish Open. I think he fell away at the end, tied 16th. But he's fairly consistent, doesn't miss a lot of cuts, and just a good all-round player as well. His play around the greens is really good. His putting is sometimes a little bit up and down, but I think the rest of his game sometimes saves him when he has his off days there. So I don't mind him this week. What I'll do is we'll go through the 7.5s above and then just some notable names maybe below that, because there is an awful lot of golfers in this 7K range. But some of the names that I'm sure we want to talk about in the top half, which are Dan Berger is out, so we will not be talking about him. Max Homer, Cameron Young, Robert McIntyre, Adam Scott, Mike Leishman, Webb Simpson, Abe Ancer, Tiger Woods, Paul Casey, and Billy Horschel, who had some choice words to say last week. Was it last week? I feel like it was a lot of controversy there. Jack, kick us off then, the top half of this 7K range.
I really like Max Homer. He hasn't missed a cut since the Farmers Insurance Open. Again, I know the worry is that he's playing with Tiger. That does scare me somewhat. He ranks 17th within my model. He's 9th within this field over the last 50 rounds on bogey avoidance, which I like to see. He's 24th within proximity from 100 to 125 and 10th from 75 to 100 yards. I like what I saw from him last week at the Scottish Open in the last round. He sort of fought back, and fought back nicely, really. And tied 16th in the end for him there, but he's just been gaining strokes everywhere. Like at the Memorial, which was 3 starts ago, he gained 10.4 strokes total there. Last week at the Scottish Open, 6.6 strokes total. The last time he sort of lost any strokes was at the PGA Championships, and that was only around the greens. It wasn't, and he come 13th there. So yeah, I like Homer. I'm just scared of this Tiger thing. That's the only thing that scares me.
Yeah, big circus there, Mark.
Yeah, Homer's 7th in my model as well. So I like him. Also, Webb Simpson as well. I know we briefly mentioned him. A little bit hit and miss, but he's got a really good 3-putt avoidance stats. He's green everywhere over the last 24 rounds, except for putting, but that's a minus 0.01. Something as near to 0 as you can be. And I think I haven't really seen masses talk about him. So
I actually like the fact that he's going off early, like the first tee. Yeah, I actually like that.
Yeah, I seem to remember relatively recently somebody doing like leading after the first round or something in the first. I could have been remembering that wrong. I can't remember. But anyway, doesn't bother. I think it's a good thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I really like him. Yeah, the thing about the Max Homer thing, he's really good in my model, but I think he's going to be very popular this week.
Yeah, well, he will now be, yeah. But I
7.9. Yeah,
I am just worried with Tiger.
Yeah, and he's really bad in 3-putt avoidance as well. So yeah, Webb's my favourite.
Tiger, I mean, we've got to mention him because we get few opportunities to do so outside of the majors, it seems. Jack, you were saying before the show that you have a really good feeling about Tiger this week. Is the feeling that good that you will be playing him in your DK lineups?
It's a weird one because I start the week off where I'm like, no, I can't play him or anything like that, and then I see stuff and I like what I've seen. I can't get to him in DFS because that withdrawal is always there in the back of your mind. It can come at any moment. I will, however, have a couple of bets on him. One will be to make the cut, and then I will probably have a outright each way bet on him. I've not actually looked at the last time I saw odds on him. I could have got 90 to 1, but that was last week at the Scottish Open. I'm presuming that's gone down now. But that was the last time I looked. So I could have got 90 to 1 last week, but I mean, it will be a small each way bet. Yeah, you can't not. If he wins, he wins. I'd be. No one would be happier than me if Tiger Woods wins this championship. And if I weren't on him, no one would be happier.
Yeah, Mark, are you a similar kind of story?
I'm not touching him DFS.
Yeah, I thought as much. So, I mean, like I said, there's a lot of names in this 7K range, and there's the odd diamond in the rough. Wow, there is a lot of names in this 7K range. This is a packed range, but there's a lot of notable names down there. We obviously won't go through that, and there's a couple of little bargain basement names in the 6K range as well this week if you are going stars and scrubs. But is there any notable names that you just want to give a shout out to before we do move on to a lineup?
Killer Keith, 6,900.
Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot.
Did you know, I heard this on the podcast today, that his sister went to university at St Andrews. Killer Keith's dad is a member of the RNA. So Killer Keith has played St Andrews multiple times. He hasn't really lived up to his nickname as of late either, because I think that was the last time I was on him, actually. It was at the Wells Fargo and he missed the cut. So that was the last time I was on him. That was a while ago. I like him just because he's obviously played this course quite a lot because of the sister thing, and we know he's a bit of a bomber off the tee. He's quite good at scrambling as well. He's sixth in this field over the last 50 rounds, Killer Keith. So you like
good
to see
putter
that
as well.
Yeah, I'm just getting his more recent stats up. Okay, yeah, he's gaining strokes everywhere pretty much. He lost some strokes on approach at the Travellers. Still, he comes sixth there though. Lost some strokes around the green at the Canadian, and he comes seventh. Yeah, I like him down there at that range. I very much, yeah, he'll be in a lot of my lineups this week. Keith Mitchell. Yeah.
I always look down here on my model just to see though they're all names that we talk about week to week. I always just look down in that sort of 6K range at anyone that just I feel like you always get someone that just ranks like top 30 in your model, and you're like, well, I've got to do a bit more of a deep dive on that. But he was 29th in my model this week. Like you said, Jackie, it's at a good distance. Good fantasy scoring player as well. His 3-putt avoidance isn't good, but his overall putting is, so he does gain strokes putting. His long putting is very good as well. Anything 25 feet plus, he's fifth in this field on. So, I like Keith Mitchell there. Anyone else before I move on to Mark?
Just a shout out, Ju Ying Kim. Sorry, Jesus. He was third last week at the Scottish Open. 23rd at the US Open, which you'd like to see. I'm pretty sure that would have been a debut for him at the US Open as well. He was 17th at the Byron Nelson putting contest. Missed the cut of the PGA Championship, but again, I'm pretty sure that would have been a debut there for him as well. But yeah, I like what I saw from him last week. He looked quite good down the stretch. I saw a lot of the Sunday at the Scottish Open. He really attacked the course. I know it wasn't a true links golf course test, but yeah, down here at 6'5", I mean, you're talking these guys are not going to pop within the model, but recent form, he's been playing well.
Yeah, Mark.
Yeah, I like it. Kim actually did pop my model. He came up 8th. Obviously, it's a lack of rounds, proper rounds for that. But I do like Cameron Tringale as well. He was 6th last week, and he's trending upwards in his strokes gained the last 12, 8 and 4 rounds. And Grillo for the similar reasons, 2nd last time out. And again, he's also trending up. So that's got you're just looking for something to hang your hat on, aren't you? Like you said, Nick, on these lower prices and stuff. So
yeah, I liked Keegan Bradley had a bit of an off week. The last time we saw him was at the Scottish Open last week, where he missed the cut. But I still like what we've seen from Keegan Bradley this year, and he's still ranked out quite high in my model because he does gain strokes across the board. His putting, of course, we know can let him down, but he's been a little bit up and down recently. When it's hot, it's hot. When it's not, obviously he's losing strokes there. But yeah, I'm not taking too much away from that missed cut there. He's played some fantastic golf this year, so Keegan Bradley was definitely one on my radar there as well. We will build some lineups then. So I think we go 3 lineups, fellas. We'll go stars and scrubs, we will go balance, and we will go low owned. So we'll start off with the stars and the scrubs. JT, I know, was mentioned, and he ranks out very high in all our models. So I think we can throw JT in to start with.
Stick him in Spieth. I think that's fair. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll throw in Spieth, which is leaving. Well, let's venture down then. So I'll throw in Killer Keith.
Yep.
And I'll throw in Tringale at 7, which is giving us 7.8 on 2. So we either go cheap again and throw in another expensive guy, or we just balance this out with a couple of the guys that were in that sort of in that 7.5 to 8k range.
What happens if you chuck in Taylor Gooch? So it puts in that 8,000 range, isn't it? Ugh, yeah, no, I don't like that at all.
What about Keegan Bradley? Does that give you loads to go up further?
So Keegan at 7, was he 7-4?
He was 6. He was 6, wasn't he?
Keegan's not 6.
Is he? Oh, okay.
Nice.
No. 7-2.
There is 7-2. So you can throw him in, and then you're back up at 8-4, which
isn't.
It's rubbish. It's just a horrible range.
Okay. Then you might as well use Homer in there, then, haven't you?
Yeah, but then Bradley. Yeah.
Which gives you
500 instead of Bradley. I was going to say instead of Bradley.
Yeah.
Well, you don't have to. It's like you can use them like that, but
it's got to leave you 7-7. I'd put in Webb.
Yeah, I'd put in Simpson if I was left with that. Looks pretty good.
Yeah, I don't want that.
So that's stars and scrubs. It feels stars and scrubsy, but it doesn't at the same time. I feel like you could probably throw in someone from down near the bottom. I quite like Ernie Els this week. You know, I do. He's rarely missed the cut at the Open, and he's
was that before I said about him?
You mentioned him, just brought him to the forefront, but I'd read something else about Ernie Els as well, and I thought, I didn't realise how well he'd actually played on the seniors tour. I don't think he'll go and win it or anything like that, but I mean, you've got someone who knows the place probably like the back of his hand. He's won Open championships as recent as the last decade, so you never know. At 6.2, all you need him to do at that price is make the cut, which he's more than capable of doing, and he's got a good history of doing that at the Open as well. So let's clear that. We'll go for a bit more balance now. So we'll start in this 9K range then around the balance.
Start with a weasel.
Yeah, we'll throw in Cam Smith. I think we quite like Tyrrell Hatton. We'll throw him in. We quite like Tommy Fleetwood.
Yeah, chuck them both in.
I'm gonna throw Max Homer into this at 7-9. Which
what about going down to Justin Rose at 7-4? I don't mind Justin Rose. He's very good Open history. Playing better as of late as well.
Justin Rose at 7-4 gets us back up into
7-9.
basically no man's land. So
gets us back to Webb territory, doesn't it?
Yeah,
I don't mind that. If you want balance, I think Webb offers balance, doesn't it?
It's certainly a balanced lineup that you've got no one that's less than 7-4, which is pretty good, and you've got some of the top picks in there with Smith, Hatton, Fleetwood, Homer. I quite like that lineup as well.
I think that's a great that's a great 6 to make the cut lineup.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll go with low owned to finish it. So I think we said in this top
DJ.
part here, we'll go down to DJ actually.
You won't do Morikawa and DJ.
DJ Morikawa.
You can go down. Taylor Gooch, 7-3. He'd be lower owned.
Yeah.
Gary Woodland again, 7-1. Everyone likes Gary Woodland. No. He played well last week. He's playing well at the minute.
We bring him up every week.
Come 10th at the US Open.
Mark, are you opposed to that?
No, I think that's fine. It's absolutely fine.
Throw him in. There we go. He's actually 30th in my model as well, Gary Woodland. So we're back at sort of this. I feel like maybe I want to try if we can, if it is a low ownership kind of lineup. Can we get Till Hatton in and then come down, or
what about Luke List at 6-8?
Or do we want Luke List?
We might as well go to JH Kim for going down there.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
Go low, go to Kim and see what that does.
Wow, it frees up a lot. So we're 9-6, so we're back up here.
Because
I think if you're going low owned, it's got to be Hideki or Cantlay, isn't it?
Yeah.
I quite like it. That is a bit of a. That's one of them ones that I just put in one of the like the multi-entry contest, like the 20. I actually quite like that.
It is a bit. It's a rogue lineup. It definitely is rogue. It's one of those lineups that just pops up and steals your tiles. It's a mad lineup, but yeah, I like it. It's
a milli maker winning lineup, though. I suspect. I don't think it's going to be duplicated.
Yeah, that will not be duplicated, other than anyone that enters it from this show.
I might enter that into the milli maker.
Yeah.
If I win, boys, see you later. All right?
Yeah, never mind. See you later.
You can have the tiles, all right?
What tiles?
Well, that rounds us off nicely, fellas. Any parting comments before we do sign this off?
Just head on over to the PFD show on Twitter. You find all our links over there and our Substack. I take it we're going to have some DraftKings plays coming tomorrow. Quite successful last week, I think, between us, me and you, Mark. With them. Check them out tomorrow. The course preview's out now, so go and check that out as well. But yeah, it's all free to sign up. Just head over to Pint for Dough Show on Twitter.
Good stuff, Mark.
No, just enjoy it. It's going to be, I think it's going to be a unique tournament for the year and stuff. Just enjoy it. It's going to have some. If you're old like me, it's going to be very nostalgic because it always is there. And as we talked before, you've got some classic TV shots and stuff from there. And And fingers crossed, one of us won't be here next week because we've won the Millie.
Yeah, fingers crossed.
Or sold some parts.
Well, that is us, fellas. I don't know about you, but I am absolutely sweltering, and I cannot wait to jump in the Sub-Zero shower. So until next week, drivers for show and putting for dough. We will see you again, and enjoy the Open.
Cheers, guys.